There was a dog in a large crate sitting on a platform at a railway station. He looked absolutely forlorn. He was probably the saddest looking dog you would ever care to see. A lady walked by and remarked, seeing that dog in that condition. She said, "You would be sad too if you were in his place. He's chewed the tag off his crate and he doesn't even know where he's going." The first century Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote this. He said that if you don't know what port you're headed for, then no wind is the right wind. Mission, vocation, vision. Themes we hear in our readings for this, the 15th Sunday, year B of Ordinary Time. We hear about the mission of a man named Amos, and also the mission of the apostles who were sent out. Mission, vocation, vision. These are things that we need both as individuals and as a church, as a community. The first reading today talks about a man named Amos. Now, Amos is a very intriguing character. In fact, one of our parishioners came up about a week ago because Amos's readings have shown up in our weekday readings about a week or so ago. And he said, "Why is this guy so important anyway?" Well, Amos lived in the 8th century. Okay. He was not by occupation a prophet like Hosea or Isaiah or Jeremiah or the other classical prophets. He was a herdsman and a dresser of sycamore trees. Now, they tell me that the fruit of a sycamore tree is less sweet than figs. But remember, I'm a city boy from Baltimore. I have no idea if that's right or not. I'll assume that it is. Now, he lived in the middle of the 8th century in the southern kingdom of Judah. History lesson. Now, remember that after Solomon's death, the empire that had been carved out, called Israel by David, was split north and south. The northern kingdom was called either Israel or Ephraim, which became the most famous or the most populous of the tribes of the north, or Samaria. And the southern kingdom was called Judah. Amos was from that southern kingdom. It contained 2 of the 12 tribes and was less well off than the prosperous northern kingdom in which 10 tribes lived. You see, the northern kingdom had a greater value, more of a sense economically. They were richer and they had more of the natural resources in the country. Now, God calls Amos away from his work as that herdsman and grower of sycamore trees, and he's told to go north, son, go north to Israel and prophesy there. Preach a gospel of gloom and doom if the people don't change their ways. Prophets cause the comfortable to be less than comfortable, to be afflicted. And they always try to take care of the afflicted and make them comfortable. So he's going to go with a message that's going to tell them to change their ways. Why did they need to change their ways? Well, because the rich in the north were getting richer at the expense of the poor people of the country. You see, there was no social justice. Seems a little bit familiar with our day and time, doesn't it? So Amos obeys and goes to the holy city of Bethel, holy at least since the time of Jacob. Remember, Jacob wrestled with the angel there and threw his hip out. And he goes to the royal sanctuary, the king's sanctuary there, and he becomes the most famous whistleblower in history. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to try to blow it, so don't anybody get excited. But I have a great urge to, but I won't do it. In fact, I bought it years ago when we had some kind of meeting at one of the state parks, because of all people, Monsignor Val Handwerker did that one day in a homily. He actually blew the whistle and then talked about Amos. I won't do that though. Okay, you can relax. Of course, what did the people of the north tell Amos to do? Politely they say, go back where you came from. We don't need your kind here. And they expel him from Bethel. Beth-el, like in Bethlehem. Beth-el means the city of God. He goes, but not before being heard and making his oracle. And after he does that, he's a prophet no more. He goes back to his herds and the sycamore trees. In the gospel, we hear how the apostles go on their journey as well. Like Amos, they experience some rejection along the way too. We'll hear about their return next week, what we might call their debriefing with Jesus. Now, all of us, by virtue of our baptism, have a call, a vocation, a mission to follow Christ and be united with Him as beloved children of God. We call it the call to holiness. We also have a call to spread the good news, the gospel. So all the baptized are called to lead a religious life. And how we do that depends on our state in life. But we're also called to be a community. In our case, the community of Holy Rosary at Park Avenue in East Memphis. Notice in the gospel, He didn't send the apostles out on their own as individuals. He sent them out 2 by 2 as part of a community. Okay, with that as a background, what is today's message for us? Well, the 12 were sent out to heal the sick, and so are we. The 12 were sent out to preach, and so are we. The 12 were sent out with authority over unclean spirits, and so are we. They were sent out to do the exact same thing Jesus had been doing in the Gospel according to Mark up to that time. To preach repentance, to heal, and to drive out evil spirits. And we're called to do that too. You see, people can have a patient spirit or a kind spirit or a gentle spirit, but they can also have a spirit of anger or a critical spirit. A person can be in bondage to alcohol or drugs. They can be in the grip of anger or jealousy. There are injustices in the world, poverty, illiteracy, greed, hatred, and so forth. And we can do something to address these. What can we do? Well, we can pick a cause that grips us. For example, work for Habitat for Humanity, like the late Bob McIver did. Teach an illiterate child to read. Be a big brother or a big sister, and many, many more. In other words, we can give of our time, our talent, and our treasures. You see, God, who called us to be holy before the foundation of the world, calls us today. He invites us to His altar to feed us with His very self. Strengthened by His Spirit, He sends us forth just like those apostles, just like Amos, to preach, to heal, and to conquer evil. Is your vision God's vision?